Hey everyone, and welcome back, you know who, and in keeping with the theme that I've been doing as of late, I'm going to be doing videos by request, but a couple of things I want to mention before that is I wanted to thank all of you for your comments, especially the ones who have been commenting about me being real, being authentic. I break the mold, so to speak, and I plan to continue that theme using my presentation, words and or language that befits the moment and my um, feeling or expression. And should there be a person or persons that take issue or have a problem with that and feel that because I'm up on YouTube and I should be presenting, if I'm presenting to the spiritual community in a fashion that they deem appropriate, I will not do so. I will not now or ever conform to the spiritual community definition of how one should present information and the words that they use in any format. In other words, I don't have to be perfect, and I will not use pretendism to please anybody under any means in that sense. The other thing that I wanted to mention before I get into it, and by the way, just so you stick around for another moment or two here, the topic that I've picked today is a rather actually interesting one. I picked this one. I'm going to do this one myself because I'm interested in this, and I've actually had 2 or 3 other people get a hold of me lately, and they have been talking about twin flame long distance relationships, and asked me if I would give my thoughts and feelings on it, and I would be delighted to do so. But before I do that, I just want to also mention here that some of you may have noticed that lately I have been giving quite a few exercises in some of my videos, and the exercises are usually applicable to a certain part of development or your spiritual growth or whatever. I want to make mention also that, just for your attention, that all of those exercises are copyrighted under the Meridian Energetics trademark, and any exercises that will come in the future will fall under that trademark also. So what that means is, while I give them to you for your own personal use, free of charge, you are not allowed, anyone, to use them in any other platform except for your own personal use. All right? I want to put that out there so that it's there at least in one video, so I don't run into problems with copyright down the road with people. All right? Because I've had a problem in the past with copyright infringement on a lot of stuff. And I know how bad the spiritual community is for that, because they all think that everything is there and it's available for everybody. And that's wonderful in the spiritual community, but I live in 3D, and practicality and legality comes into play here. All right. The twin flame long distance connection. Why does it happen? All right. One could actually say that prior to the twin flame connection, long distance relationships have always been there. And from the experience that I've been seeing from a lot of people is at this particular point, what's been happening is it's now been happening in the twin flame community. And because of the twin flame connection, it's intense. And from what people are telling me, it's also become very difficult, and for some it can become very painful. All right. Now, the first thing that I want to say here, and this is probably going to not sit well with some people. If the twin flame connection is a twin flame connection in the true sense of the word, and you understand, as I understand, that twin flames coming into physical reality have come in voluntarily, as you've heard me say before. And they're here to change the relationship template. That's their main mission format. So therefore, prior to coming in, they would have had pre-planned in what particular area they're going to specialize in regards to changing the relationship template. Now, if you can focus in on that point for a moment and leave out any type of emotional concept of love, relationship, and sexuality, you will be able to grasp what I'm trying to say without getting upset and transferring some of your disappointment or your hurt or your pain onto me, all right, and listen for what I'm going to say. The relationship template on this planet has to change. That's why twin flames are here. The twin flame template is being set, has been set, and is continuing to be set in all different segments of relationships. There are many different variations of relationships on the planet, all right? And there are many different cultures on the planet. So therefore, there are many different belief systems on the planet about relationships, all right? And the one thing that I do know for certain is this, is without a doubt, anyone who's ever experienced the twin flame connection, the twin flame energy, the original twin flame template, or the twin soul template, the soulmate template, at this particular point, it's intense, all right? And the very first thing that everybody does, the males and the female, but it's more especially oriented towards female, is ultimately, even in that long distance connection, they want that to come together at some point into a two people in a relationship format. That's a 3D belief system that is held in the waking consciousness of the two or the one individual in that connection, all right? So what happens in a twin flame long distance relationship, okay? Now I'm using the word relationship here as another point of reference. When you say, or you feel, or you know that you are in a twin flame long distance relationship, all right, which is pretty much what all of you do, right off the bat, you're in trouble because you've used the word relationship, all right? Instead of leaving it as a twin flame connection and allowing it to flow and to ebb and create and manifest under, okay, the volition and the guidance of what I'm going to call Oversoul, all right, which is that original part of you, that supreme consciousness part of you. I'm not talking about higher self here, all right? I'm talking about Oversoul. What happens is it will come to some kind of fruition, but the fruition that a lot of these twin flame connections come to is not, in many cases, in agreement or liked by the two individuals that may be involved with it. Case in point, the twin flame long distance relationship. First of all, it's not a twin flame relationship, all right? One, because it's not even close together to being together, so it can't be considered a relationship at all, by any means of the word. And the pain and the agony and the disappointment and the hurt all comes into play because that's what the person is seeing in the long term. And as long as you compare these twin flame unions that take place at a distance, compare it and see it coming together in the traditional format, you're going to feel the pain, the agony, and the disappointment, and quite possibly, ultimately, at the end, the complete dissolution of the connection at all, all right, in that context. Now, does this mean that there's something psychologically, mentally, emotionally wrong with the two individuals who get in to these types of long-distance situations? Absolutely not. Are they being punished for shortcomings in their character? Absolutely not. Are they being taught something? Is there a piece of their energy or their chakra system or their etheric body they're not in alignment? Absolutely not. All right. What I'm trying to convey to some people here is that they understand that these connections, all right, especially in the twin flame. Now I'm focusing here specifically in the twin flame community at this particular point, all right, in these long distance connections, all right, in the twin flame connection. What is happening really with these connections? All right. First of all, a good many of you are understanding that we have now, you actually are getting it, and I'm really, really delighted to see this. Some of you are starting to actually get it, that the old concept of love, relationship, and sexuality that we had on this planet is the emotional experience of that to the 10th degree. And all you need to do to see the emotional experience of love, relationship, and sexuality manifesting in a twin flame group is go in Facebook, go into the multitude of twin flame groups, and you can see the emotional experience of love, relationship, and sexuality with the twin flame label wrapped around it. And you can see all the frustration that people are going through and the agony that they're going through. And yes, you will have some people who are going to say, oh yes, there is no right, there is no wrong. It's their pathway. And sooner or later, they're all going to get it. We're all going to ascend. We're all going to sit in chairs with God around the long table of life and fruition. And we're all going to be blessed with everlasting life and the rest of that bullshit that goes along with it. All right. So in a twin flame union at a distance, here's what's actually happening. All right. Because the two are not apart, what's taking place unbeknown to them at the time is they are developing creative abilities that would not be developed if they were in and formulating in a traditional twin flame connection where the two people are in close proximity, are seeing each other and going through the process. All right. They're doing it differently. And I want to say this. All right. I want to say this. If any of you out there, all right, are in a twin flame connection and you're separated by difference, or by distance, excuse me, and the connection has been going on for a long time, kudos to you, all right? Because if anybody thinks it's easy, all right, it's not. It is probably the most difficult challenge that any set of twin flames can take on at any particular point in time. So, what they do is they have to develop creative abilities, and please pay attention to this part, beyond the three-dimensional connection that takes place between a set of twin flames. Now, how do they do that? The only way that it can be done is a long-distance twin flame connection can only be worked etherically, because it cannot be worked physically, because probably the only physical contact you may have is texting with the technology we have now, Zoom, Skype, or whatever other means there is to actually communicate and see. And the one thing that you have learned and are learning is how to connect etherically. Why is this happening? All right, I'm going to enlighten a whole bunch of you. It's happening because I'm going to use this expression. In the fourth and fifth dimension, there is a place for all of us, all right? But someone's got to walk the water first in that area, all right? If we as a species in the twin flame connection, the soulmate, and all of the labels that go with it, are going to transition into a fourth and fifth dimensional state of consciousness, and the bodies are going to go there, then someone has to go there ahead of time who doesn't have the benefit of the actual physical connection with their twin flame and create in the etheric energy or the etheric realm all of the possibilities that are available. I'm talking about etheric sexuality. I'm talking about communication at a higher level, connection of the physical body, exchanges of information and knowledge at a very high vibrational level, all right? And also the melding, the blending, and the merging of the molecular and the cellular structure of the masculine feminine of both of the embodiments. In other words, a template, folks, has to be created in the etheric realm that was born in the physical, if you can put it that way, and taken upward into the etheric realm by a set of twin flames. So the idea that I'm trying to convey here is this, is if you're one of those fortunate individuals who has been given this, shall we say, challenge to bear, all right, let me say this to you, that at some point, you need to understand that you chose this. You volunteered to create in the etheric realm the new template for a situation, but the only way that you could do it is by not coming together. You see, look at it this way. What's happening right now on the planet, and I'll be talking about this in one of my next videos here, is right now the twin flame connection, everybody is all about the relationship, all right? The biggest majority. And all they want is the romance, the sex, and everything else that goes along with it. So they're not creating anything in the etheric realm, all right? All they want to do is play hide the wiener, all right? They want to play house, like three-dimensional things, and they're having a lot of difficulties doing this, all right? Why? Because you can't set up a multi-dimensional union in a three-dimensional reality. It's not going to work. So what happens is a lot of twin flames are starting to meander a little bit. They're starting to move out beyond the three-dimensional contained restrictive nature of a relationship. Some of them are beginning to experience some sexual activity in the etheric realms. They're starting to experience some sexual activities with other people or persons or beings or entities other than their twin flame. And of course, they're still dealing with all of their belief systems and ideologies and philosophy and religious content, especially religious content that is maintaining and keeping them down here in three-dimensional physical reality in that sense. So we need and require some that can never probably be together in the physical content for the two of them, because they have something. And what they do is they don't pick fluffies for this work, all right? The fluffies in the spiritual community, I call them Twinkies, all right? They're who they are, and it's okay, all right? But there are some here that are actually doing some really challenging, things in the twin flame community, and the long distance twin flame connection is one of them, all right? So in the etheric realm, what is being done is the vibration of the two individuals, because they're being creative, they're forced to be creative, they're developing more of their own creative abilities, and this will manifest for them in three-dimensional reality, because they're forced by circumstances to be more creative as to how they connect They have to be more creative as to how they meld. They have to be more creative as to how they merge. They have to be more creative as to how they have any sexual experiences with each other. This takes effort. And you can only do this and develop these creative aspects in a long distance situation. Because if you do, you can't do it in a twin flame connection that just comes together and the two are together, because it takes the format in the general direction thereof. So someone has to do it. And this is what is taking place. So what will happen is if and when these situations drift apart, and remember something, the graduate souls coming in that have volunteered to do this have taken on some pretty shitty excursions, all right? And you as an individual may not always like or agree what your oversoul or your soul self has chosen to do, all right? And it can be difficult in that sense of feeling that way. But this is what is taking place at this point. So there is a forerunner group that has been doing this work. And in this etheric exchange, the knowledge that some of these people have, or for example, let me pick one out of the blue here just to give you an example. Let's suppose that we have someone here in the physical who's been in a long distance twin flame connection. And prior to the connection, let's say they began their spiritual awakening. And prior to that, they were having a problem with drugs, or they're having a problem with alcohol, or they're having a problem with, communication with the masculine, feminine, or they're having a problem with their own sexuality. So what happens is you're not really going to fix it by doing the physical things. The spiritual community has this thing, okay? I don't know where the hell they get this shit from, but they keep thinking they got to go in and they got to work at this, they got to work at that, they got to work at this, they got to work at that, they got to do this workshop, they got to do that workshop, they got to get certified to be a twin flame, they got certified to do this, they got to do this, this, and this, all right? In reality, that's 3D talk. When you're moving into these higher dimensions, you need people who can go there because it's necessary and recreate the system, and understanding that they don't have to keep working on themselves. All they have to do is recreate, and you recreate, necessity is the mother of invention. You've all heard that expression, right? It's the same application here. So that when you're moving into the fourth and the fifth and the sixth, you have to have people who have picked a line of work where they're going to be creative, and they're going to exchange this creativity between the two of them, and they're going to manifest this as a energetic template that as other people drift to that direction, they can pick up on that template and actually absorb it into that way. For example, I'll give you an example here of what, and I've mentioned this before. A set of twin flames can exchange skill and knowledge, all right? This is not done too much with the regular set of twin flames, or going into the kind of coming into fruition here in physical 3D, and they're going to be under the same roof. They're going to do mission, yeah, and all that stuff. But in regards to the twin flames who are at a distance, all right, they develop this because it's necessary. They have to get creative. They have to be more open. They have to explore the consciousness of the etheric realm. They have to peruse it. They have to sense it. They have to feel it. And they can exchange creative abilities. In other words, if one has a talent, it can actually be exchanged with the other. If one has something that's an imbalance, one can exchange with the other. So there's a whole lot of dynamics going on here, continually between two people in this type of a situation. Yes, it did happen prior to the twin flame phenomena happening in the heart center phenomena, but it was only sporadically, all right, and not to the degree that it's happening now. Why? Because the process of moving upward in vibration in consciousness for it has now accelerated, all right? And this is what is taking place with this type of a situation. So the final comment that I want to make here is the long-term situation here is this, is once the mission format has been accomplished, once it's been accomplished, usually the person in the twin flame long distance connection will usually reach a point where they will understand and be totally in union with themselves as a means of their self-preservation. Now, they may look at that and say, well, I was doing something wrong. It didn't work out. Then something was done wrong. No. What it means is you now reform to that unified field within self because the etheric has been changed and evolved. You have completed that part of the mission format between the two individuals. And I've seen some individuals have, and this is taking place also amongst other people, but in lesser or greater variations in the regular twin flame community and the spiritual community as a whole. Most people still don't understand what's going on. That's okay. I'll be around for a while yet to make sure everybody gets the full information that I have available. At least I can promise you that. So what happens, they return to this unified field, and they go into a period when they become somewhat recluse or by themselves. And then what will happen is they will begin to draw to them the experience. Okay, now I want them to hear this part. The experience, the circumstances, and the persons or persons that would vibrate with them with the exchange that's going on between the two original ones that created in the etheric plane through their creativity that they've exchanged with each other, something, circumstances, persons or person that would be compatible with their energy systems at that point. And I will get into this a little later, about 2 years down the road from now, when we get there in a particular situation. All right. Now, I'm going to end the video here. I think I've given enough to explain some things to these types of individuals going through these long distance twin flame connections. And the last thing to say is it was never about being physically together per se. That may be a hard pill to swallow for a bit, but I think it can be digested when you understand the greater picture and the bigger mission format that's going on. The final thing I want to say in this video is when you have the twin flame connection and the twin flame energy come to you, don't always have this expectation that a relationship is going to form. Okay? I've been trying to say this for years, all right? Just because in the twin flame community, you've had the twin flame connection with someone does not, absolutely does not mean that a relationship is pending with that person. And I see a lot of people going through a lot of unnecessary agony and pain for no reason. Some might say, well, it's their pathway, it's their experience, their choice. No, I don't buy that. People don't have to experience going through difficulty and pain and agony. The process of moving upward can be smooth and it can be easy. Because I'll tell you something we've all forgotten, and it's this before I go, is there are many of us on this planet, all right, who have been coming back and coming back and coming back, reincarnation after reincarnation after reincarnation. And we're old souls. And I'll tell you something, if anybody thinks that you're an old soul, I wouldn't go around bragging about it, all right? It just means you're really slow and probably not all that bright when it comes to enlightenment in that particular perspective. The original intention when you come in as a new being or a new energy field is you're only supposed to come in and do it once. One time around, one time through the school, and that's all that's necessary. Somewhere along the line, we all got hooked in and addicted to this place. And it's time to stop that. All right, at this point. That's what's being done. Have a good day, everybody.